Imagine standing on the shore of an ocean that looks completely normal. The waves move, the water glistens, the horizon is calm, but beneath the surface, there is nothing alive. Every fish is gone, not dying, not migrating, gone. At first, the change is invisible. Oceans cover more than 70% of the planet, and from the outside, they seem unchanged. But the moment marine life disappears, the largest ecosystem on Earth collapses in silence. Fish are not just animals in the sea. They're the backbone of ocean life. The instant they vanish, the balance of the marine world breaks. Predators starve first. Whales, dolphins, seals, sharks all lose their primary food source. Within days, massive die-offs begin. Birdies vanishes. The oceans grow quiet. Plankton populations spiral out of control. Some species explode in number, others collapse entirely. Algae blooms spread across the surface, turning vast regions of the ocean green and toxic. Without fish to regulate them, these blooms consume oxygen, creating massive dead zones where nothing else can survive. Coral reefs begin to die. Fish once cleaned them, protected them, and maintained the fragile balance that kept reefs alive. Without fish, algae smothers coral structures. Reefs bleach, crumble, and collapse. One of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet disappears within months. The impact reaches land almost immediately. Millions of people depend on fish as their primary source of protein. Coastal communities are hit first. Fishing fleets return empty. Entire industries collapse overnight. Ports fall silent. Markets shut down. Food prices spike globally. Fish meal used to feed livestock vanishes, driving up the cost of meat, dairy, and eggs. Aquaculture fails because farmed fish are gone as well. The food system, already fragile, begins to fracture. Nations that rely heavily on seafood face crisis. Hunger spreads rapidly in regions with limited alternatives. Governments attempt emergency imports, but global supply cannot meet demand. Tension rises as countries compete for remaining food sources. The oceans themselves begin to change chemically. Without fish to cycle nutrients through their bodies and waste, essential elements sink to the seafloor and are lost from the ecosystem. Oxygen levels in many regions drop. The ocean becomes increasingly hostile to life. Shipping routes are affected in unexpected ways. Decomposing organic matter and algae blooms clog ports and waterways. Maintenance becomes dangerous. Some regions are avoided entirely due to toxic conditions. Culturally, humanity struggles to process the loss. Fish have fed civilizations for thousands of years. Entire traditions, cuisines, and identities vanish. Coastal cultures lose a core part of who they are. Scientists scramble to understand the scope of the disaster. Research vessels find empty waters. Sonar returns nothing. Let's come back clean. The realization is horrifying. The oceans are no longer living systems. Children grow up near seas that feel lifeless and wrong. The soundscape of the ocean changes. No movement beneath the waves. No flashes of life. Just endless water. As days turn into weeks, one truth becomes clear. The disappearance of fish is not a single ecological event. It is the beginning of the collapse of Earth's largest life support system. And humanity is only starting to feel the consequences. What happens if all fish disappear from the oceans? Part 2. As months turn into years, the true scale of a world without fish becomes impossible to ignore. What began as a silent collapse beneath the waves spreads outward, reshaping the entire planet. The oceans lose their ability to regulate themselves. Without fish to maintain balance, ecosystems unravel completely. Algae blooms grow larger and more persistent, covering vast stretches of water. These blooms consume oxygen at alarming rates, creating expanding dead zones where no complex life can survive. Entire regions of the ocean become biologically inert. The loss of oxygen in coastal waters accelerates. Shellfish, crustaceans, and remaining marine organisms suffocate and disappear. What little life remains is microscopic and unstable. The oceans shift from dynamic ecosystems into stagnant chemical systems, unable to recover on their own. This transformation affects the atmosphere. Oceans once absorbed enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, a process deeply connected to marine life. Without fish and functioning food webs, this absorption weakens. Carbon levels in the atmosphere rise faster. Climate change accelerates. Weather patterns become more extreme and less predictable. Coastal regions suffer the most. Dead zones creep toward shorelines. Toxic algae release harmful gases into the air, affecting nearby cities. Respiratory illnesses increase. Beaches close permanently. Tourism collapses. Coastal economies, already damaged, disintegrate entirely. Global food systems continue to deteriorate. The absence of fish removes a major protein source for billions of people. Alternative food production struggles to scale fast enough. Agricultural land is pushed beyond its limits. Forests are cleared to grow more crops, worsening climate instability. Hunger becomes widespread and chronic. Political tensions rise. Nations compete aggressively for remaining fertile land and food resources. Migration increases as coastal populations move inland. Borders tighten. Conflicts erupt over water, farmland, and food supply chains. The disappearance of fish becomes an unspoken driver behind global instability. Industries tied to the sea vanish. Fishing, shipping support, marine research, and coastal trade collapse. Millions lose their livelihoods permanently. Skills passed down through generations become useless overnight. Entire cultures fade as their economic and social foundations disappear. Science struggles to respond. Restoring fish populations proves impossible without intact ecosystems. Artificial breeding programs fail. Reintroducing fish into dead oceans achieves nothing. Without plankton balance, oxygen regulation, and nutrient cycles, the sea cannot support complex life. The oceans begin to smell different. Without healthy biological processes, decay dominates. Massive amounts of organic matter rot unchecked. Some regions emit sulfurous gases, turning once vibrant seas into hostile environments. The psychological impact on humanity deepens. The ocean, once a symbol of life and mystery, becomes a reminder of irreversible loss. Generations born into this world never experience living seas. They grow up knowing oceans as empty, dangerous expanses. Marine life becomes something taught in textbooks and documentaries, not something observed. Aquariums close. Museums replace living exhibits with holograms and models. Culturally, the loss of fish reshapes human identity. Stories, myths, and traditions tied to the sea lose relevance. Coastal nations redefine themselves away from the ocean. Humanity turns inward, focused on survival rather than exploration. Technological attempts to repair the oceans continue, but with limited success. Massive oxygenation projects, artificial reefs, and chemical interventions slow the collapse in some areas, but cannot restore complexity. The oceans no longer heal themselves. Every mistake becomes permanent. Over decades, Earth settles into a new equilibrium, one poorer, hotter, and less alive. The planet continues to function, but at a diminished capacity. Life persists on land, but the loss of the ocean's vitality leaves the entire biosphere fragile and unstable. The final realization arrives slowly but unmistakably. Fish were never just food. They were engineers of the planet's largest system. Without them, the oceans cease to be living worlds. And without living oceans, Earth itself becomes a far less forgiving place. Humanity survives, but the planet it survives on is no longer the same.